You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
You call the principal, take Rick, act it up. You call the fire, act it up. You call the principal, take Rick, act it up. You call the fire.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison. Running the show by myself today. David is down at the Alabama State Council of Machinists annual convention, so we appreciate his work doing that. We were talking to Jane Addams earlier in the show about what would happen if Republicans are successful in circumventing the legislative process and and getting their activist judges to rewrite the law with respect to the Affordable Care Act. And, we talked about how, or I mentioned in passing how that is much more likely if we get, if Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed to the court. You know, she during the hearing, she played coy, and she was, of course she did, about how, I can't comment on a case that could come before me as a justice, blah, 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 blah. We know that everybody listening knows that's a bunch of, that's a bunch of BS. But, and everybody knows that if she was on the court, she would vote to overturn the Affordable Care Act. Doesn't matter what the arguments are. Doesn't matter if they're legitimate. She would do it because she's a conservative, because she's a Republican. She's partisan. And we've got to rid ourselves of this notion that the courts are not political. They are. They're a place where political power comes to fight, and adding another person to the conservative side of the court is going to guarantee conservative outcomes. And so in that vein, I wanted to go over some things that the already conservative court has done in its tenure, and to just kind of underscore how much more radically pro-business, pro-corporation, and anti-worker this court will become with yet another conservative justice on it. The president of the AFL-CIO, Richard Trumka, wrote an article a few weeks back in the American Prospect. I would really recommend folks check it out. Because it's a really good article going through a lot of the pro-corporation, anti-worker decisions that this court has done. It's called Chief Justice Roberts, America's Chief Guardian of Corporate Power. And so, the article kind of starts with a lot of Republican partisan types are disappointed with Chief Justice Roberts because he cited he Obergefell, or but because they don't think that he's sufficiently conservative enough. They think not in Obergefell, but in other decisions, they don't think he's sufficiently conservative, especially on social issues. But on business issues, which is what's going to affect your pocketbook, which is what's going to affect my pocketbook, he is down the line radical. He is radically pro-corporation and anti-worker. We can look at his rulings on workers' rights to band together in order to protect our rights to exercise greater power in the workplace, right? One of these decisions, he expanded the meaning of the Federal Arbitration Act, and which sealed off the courthouse door to arbitration. Like it made it harder for workers to band together against their employers if there was some issue in the workplace. And there was another case in AT&T Mobility LLC versus Concepcion, which does the same thing for consumers. It makes it more difficult for them to band together in class action lawsuits to fight against like faulty advertising and stuff like that. And I mean, it's just down the line. It's all kinds of stuff like that. And he knows that that is to the benefit of the corporations. It is to their benefit if people can't band together in class action lawsuits and take their claims to court. Because a lot of these claims, a lot of the damages done to an individual worker are just about they're just like, you know, $50 or $100 or $200 or $300 or even $1,000 or $2,000, right? These are amounts, even just the $20. That can mean a tank of gas. That can mean somebody eats that night. You know, for poor people, that's a lot of money, especially once you start getting up to $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. This is real money for working people. But that is not enough money to take a corporate behemoth to court over. You're not going to be able to afford a lawyer as a working person, as somebody who is not rich. You're not going to be able to take a corporate behemoth to court over a $5,000 wrong that was done to you. And so the ability for workers and consumers to come together in class action lawsuits, which is where lots of people who have smaller claims, you get 100 people, you get 1,000 people that were all done wrong by a corporation who their individual amounts is like, you know, they took basically it amounted to them taking $100 from me, or them taking $20 from me, right? I can't go to court by myself for that. But if I can band together with my brothers and sisters, we can all afford a lawyer and we can take them to court together, and we can it's called a class action lawsuit. And the Roberts Court has consistently sided on the side of corporations, making it harder and harder for workers and consumers to engage in class action lawsuits against these big corporate behemoths that have wronged them. It's quite scary thinking about the fact that people like Walmart or Google or Facebook or Amazon, they're going to have another friend on the court. That's really scary thinking about living in that world where, you know, the people who want to take away workers' rights have another friend on the Supreme Court of the United States. And, you know, a lot of people talk, like when they think about the Supreme Court, they think about abortion, or they think about gay marriage. They think about a woman's right to choose. Like, these are all very important things, and we should think about them. We should spend time talking about that. But there is not nearly enough attention paid to how the Supreme Court is going to affect our pocketbooks, how the Supreme Court is going to affect our ability to come together and fight together against these big corporate behemoths, because we can't do it alone. We just simply cannot do it alone. It is not. We don't have the money. We don't have the resources. We don't have the time to do that by ourselves. But when the working class can come together, we're a lot stronger. And that's why, you know, that's why the Roberts Court is so anti-class action lawsuits. It's why it's so anti-workers coming together. Because if we can't come together, you know, we don't have power anymore. And that's, you know, that's the whole thing. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time. If you want to see what we're up to throughout the week and get our snide quips about the news of the day, then you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. David is on Twitter at Radical Unionist. That's spelled RADICL Unionist. If you missed part of the show and want to go back and watch it later, search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we also clip segments throughout the week. And we also upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So you can see if we're on your listening platform of choice. You can go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. And if you appreciate our work and want to help us stay on the air, then consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report.